We've done everything. Like
We've done everything. Here I am.
You can't be
late to
any
the
more
party.
enraged than we've been.
JHop814. I just saw it go past because Jonathan, guys, is hosting this stream. So I'm actually watching the chat up here on this monitor, and it's flying by because I'm seeing all the chat. But I saw Meadville, PA. Shout out to you, dude. Let's go.
How are you, Jonathan?
I'd say okay, but I think, like everybody else, feeling somewhat frazzled. Even though I think it's not coming as a huge surprise, it is still shocking. And of course, it's how do you pick this apart? What is the strategic purpose? Because when things are happening, you don't quite get what's going on. You know, when, say, Russia was sending drones over Europe, you know, you can lapse into, this is the start of the invasion, this is something, this is this, this is that, but you're sort of dazzled by the headlights. Now I think it's becoming quite clear that those drones over Europe was not just to deter Europe from helping Ukraine, it was to force Europe to stockpile munitions out of fear for their own defense. And now we see the energy war unfolding in Ukraine and destroying their infrastructure. And we see the US withholding stocks as well. And this all comes together to give Russia a strategic advantage over Ukraine, which is trying to dominate. So suddenly, after a couple of months, things are like, start to make a little bit of sense. I think we need to try and imagine the various reasons why Trump would be doing this for Greenland, because what I imagine you've been discussing is it doesn't benefit the US electorate, doesn't really benefit Trump, doesn't benefit the economy. A lot of people, I think, in MAGA will be wondering and scratching their heads whether, you know, this is a good idea or not. I think a lot of people will. And in fact, we know that some have turned against him because of the strikes on Iran and so on. So who does this benefit? And I think this seems to me perhaps a continuation of Putin's strategy, which is to not just deter Europe, but to dazzle us in the headlights and prevent us from coalescing to support Ukraine. It's a stepping up of a strategy that's already been in play last year.
And listen, Mr. Fink, don't forget that the dropping of the Oreshnik in the Lviv region was a statement. It's the same. It goes for the same. You know, I just wanted to add that to what you were saying earlier.
It ladders up completely to that, doesn't it? Which is
yes,
like,
it does. 100%.
We're scary. We got scary weapons, right? You better hold on to your munitions, and it's working. I think it's working. We can see that from the ability that Russia's had to get through and strike the energy infrastructure. And it's not for want of trying. They've been trying to do this for 4 years. It's not like they've just sat up and thought, well, let's maybe take out the energy infrastructure at this stage in the war. No, they've been trying and haven't been able to do so until now.
I agreed.
Yeah, I'm just basically cycling through all the very generous...
one of my mods, Trump is propped up by sycophantic morons and the Heritage Foundation, mark my words.
Yeah.
A lot of it's unfolding right in front of us, Dunk, 100%.
Yeah, and the Heritage Foundation is an interesting one. I rail against them quite frequently. They've become, I think, this very important organization that essentially is running the White House at the moment. But some of them just quit recently and joined former Vice President Pence's is it AAF group. So some of them are so disappointed with how the Heritage Foundation is going at things that some of them have jumped ship and joined Pence's group. So yeah, Rick from the Netherlands, is Trump an evil leader or a useful idiot? Is Trump being played by true powerful people playing his narcissism? Yes, I think that could that explain his taco behavior?
All of those.
Yeah, all of those.
Definitely evil as well.
Yeah. All of the above. And I think Rick had another chat in there where he was talking about how he went to school in New York. I was trying to read them all. Yeah, I love the U.S. Graduated in New York City. Have many U.S. friends. How can Trump still be in power? The U.S. ever did or has the U.S. ever encountered such a danger from within? For me, as an American speaking, I'm 50 in the 50s and not born in the 50s. I was born in the 70s, but 50. I'm 53. Okay, so there you have it. But no, for me in my lifetime, I've no, never, ever. This is off the rails, guys. This is off the rails now. And Jonathan Fink, I was telling Johnny and everyone watching, I'm really pulling for the EU and UK to come back with a ball of fire against this. They must.
They must, but it's the evidence is not good for the track record of this. There seems to be
there's got to be a
normalization
mass at some point. There's got to be a tipping point at some time.
One would hope.
And if it's not this, like, honestly, like, it's either like maximal economic coercion or it's military invasion, right? And you don't want to let it get to military invasion before you say, that's enough's enough. So it's got to be this. Like, this is Europe's last chance saloon to put the foot down and go, you can't keep taking a mickey here, Donald. You can't keep pushing us. At some point, we're going to say, and I think the reason why they haven't pushed back is, yes, economic self-interest, but it's also like Ukraine. Like, you don't want to push back against the US because Ukraine's on the table there. So yeah.
Well, this is it, and I think this is.
Prof just made a comment in my chat. Trump has 3 years left. Things will reset in time. Hurts our foreign policy for a decade.
Or a decade, if you're being optimistic. I mean,
optimistic on the decade. I agree with that. Yeah,
we're talking a level of distrust that could well. Now, the only thing I think that would reset that trust, and possibly in less than a decade, would be the impeachment of Donald Trump for this madness. I'm not sure. Now, this is a U.S. domestic question. It's not up to Europe to claim or decide or say this is what you have to do. But I think unless, as you've just said, Europe and the UK push back hard, there may not be the momentum. There may not be the wake-up call in the US to take those important political steps and face the reality. If we carry on appeasing, if we carry on like Mark Rutte is doing still, what a effing disaster that man is, frankly. If we keep appeasing, then I think that will soften the momentum in the US to deal with this or face the reality of it. I think.
Let's.
I disagree on Rutte. I disagree. I think
before we get there, let me go back to the impeachment. It's never going to happen. Okay, he may be impeached, but he will never be removed. So impeachment is just like formal charges. But for him to actually be removed from office, he goes to a Senate trial, and 2/3 have to vote for him to be out. It's never going to happen. So. And if we're waiting for
House of Representatives, who won't get past Senate.
If we're waiting for the midterms to say, well, we can get him impeached after November 2026, and Mr. Fink, what I was sharing with Jonathan Pearce was this, guys, it's January the 17th. If you think you can predict what this world's going to look like in November of 2026, good on you. Good on you. But impeachment, never going to happen. He will
never going to happen.
Impeachment may happen. But removal, not a snowball's chance in Hades. By the way,
that's disturbing, because November, I think, the pattern of chaos that we're seeing is not chaos at all, and it is very much the foundations of something happening to prevent the midterms from going ahead. I think that is quite clear, at least to me.
Well, we shall see. And I don't like chasing conspiracy theories or going down, and not that I'm saying you're giving a conspiracy theory there, Jonathan. That's not what I'm saying at all. But we have no idea what's going to happen. Like, no, we don't. No idea.
Not. We don't.
And
but of course,
it's so
there's a pattern, and there
is a pattern.
Yeah. And perhaps he doesn't need to suspend the elections at all. I mean, some of the speculation I've seen is that he just has to maybe coerce those states that are likely to be sort of pivotal in swinging the results. So maybe some sort of surgical intervention rather than suspend the whole process. That indeed is more dangerous, because then, he can label the process legitimate, even though it starts to be gerrymandered in certain respects.
Well, then we could open up the can of worms where we start talking about the Insurrection Act, which there is a lot of talk about that happening right now.
I just did a 2-hour live stream on this before my 2-hour live stream now. So this is my
anything can happen. Anything can happen. But I'll tell you what, as far as, because I'm reading in media where people are going, okay, so let's get him impeached. Let's get him impeached. And we just need people to understand impeachment's just formal charges. He's been down that road before. He's an expert at it. Okay. But removal, mathematically.
It's difficult to see. Now, Mr. Gerdes has written an interesting comment here, which I think needs to be opened up. He said the institutions in the US run deep. I would ask the question, if that's the case, why have the institutions so far proved to be incapable of holding Trump to account, even on the basis of law? He, to my eyes, seems to have violated numerous laws and conventions and gathered powers to himself that go against traditional practice and indeed the word and letter of the law. So it seems those institutions are not functioning in the way they were designed to do.
Are you saying that I have to invite Prof. Gerdes into this for a four-way, and I'm trying to go to bed?
I told him, I sent him a message, but I think I don't know.
He's on the road or something. But I think that's an interesting
I know he was out
there,
earlier, but yeah, and he's the one to answer that.
Yeah. But can I just answer what I
please? Continue on those.
Yeah, well, no, it's just when I mentioned Mark Rutte earlier, just I disagreed with your man Jonathan, because he said Mark Rutte's terrible. Mark Rutte's got one job, and it is keeping NATO together. So, like, it depends how you understand Mark Rutte. If you expecting Mark Rutte to stand up amazingly for, I don't know, Europe against the United States, or stand up amazingly for Ukraine, his one job is to stop NATO falling apart. So his one job is to keep Trump somehow inside NATO.
But this is the problem. This is the problem for me, because
the problem is
Trump. It's been my belief that broad NATO, as a broad coalition, has been dead for some time. Now, Mark Rutte is very capable at keeping the impression that it is a functioning alliance together as a zombie institution. That, my argument, is extremely detrimental, because it prevents allies from organizing what comes next. It prevents us from facing reality. It prevents us from actually looking at our defense and security requirements and decoupling from the US. So yes, he's doing his job rather too well. What I'm saying is that job itself is highly dangerous.
Well, yeah, I mean, like, because the issue is you've got an America that both wants Europe to stand up on its own 2 feet, but also wants Europe to buy American weapons, right? So those two things are mutually exclusive.
Those aren't true anymore. Those aren't true anymore. Those are not true anymore.
What do you mean they're not true?
US does not want Europe to stand on its own 2 feet. We've just sent a token force into Greenland, and apparently sending troops onto our own sovereign territory at the request of allies is the wrong thing to do. That's the big lie.
No, it's
he wants
not
a
the lie.
Weak Europe.
So,
he wants a weak Europe.
It depends who you're talking about by he. Like, so the reality is here. The problem is that there is all these mutually exclusive issues that originate from Donald Trump's completely schizophrenic international diplomatic worldview, right? So what Mark Rutte has to do is try and keep NATO together while you've got the US being lobbied, well, the Trump administration being lobbied by military industrial complex to keep buying US weapons, while Trump wants to isolate but also militarily expand, which is kind of against NATO because it means going into Greenland and also doing funky stuff over here that NATO probably disagrees with, and all the while needing the US to be a part of that, because US is NATO and US bases in Europe are super important for NATO. So, and that you have the Trump administration saying Europe needs to stand up on its own 2 feet, but it still needs to buy loads of American weapons. So none of this makes any sense. And Mark Rutte is left. I mean, I don't give a damn. I'm not supporting Mark Rutte for this. All I'm saying is whoever's in that job has the impossible position of trying to keep NATO together, while all of those competing elements are throwing up.
Okay. All right. Let the American get in here for a second, because I'm loving watching you two guys fight. Disagree. It's beautiful. Listen, Mark Rutte is trying, both of you are right, in my opinion. Mark Rutte is trying to hold NATO together.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, he is sometimes like a cheerleader instead of a quarterback. And what I mean by that is he has a position where he could make statements that empower NATO to come together, but he understands that the United States is so important to NATO that I'm not sure he's doing more damage than good, in my opinion. So that's it. I think both of you have valid points, because I just pulled up the quotes and I said, okay, give me quotes right now from Rutte on NATO. Quote, I believe Donald Trump is doing the right thing for NATO by encouraging us all to spend more. That's a quote. Okay, fair enough. Congratulations and thank you, President Trump, for your decisive action in Iran. That was truly extraordinary and something no one else dared to do. You are making us all safer. Now, I will just stop there. So you can see what he's trying to do by heaping praise on Trump to try to keep NATO together. But here's the problem. When you do that to Donald Trump, all you do is empower him more. And we just witnessed today NATO fracture because the president of the United States is threatening NATO members with tariffs.
100%.
And we had Stephen Miller himself say, if you can't defend a piece of territory, then it's not really your territory. So what does that mean? We now go to Papua New Guinea and start taking their land?
Yeah, I went through, before you joined, Greg, I went through Stephen Miller's speech there. And
exactly.
Took his pieces.
But we are so far off the rails right now. It's
I fully agree.
Disgusting.
The problem isn't Mark Rutte's. The problem is Donald Trump's, right? And Mark Rutte is left trying to, like, the reality is that you can't have a NATO. You need a new NATO, right? But that's not Mark Rutte's job, right? Mark Rutte's job is to keep the NATO. His job, literally, his job is to keep NATO together, right? So, like, we can slag off Mark Rutte, but he's trying to do the impossible, where what we should want is a NATO without maybe the United States. But then that's only because of Donald Trump. But if a new president came in who was completely different to Donald Trump, then we want the United States back in. And so the problem is the unreliability of the American administration. So I wouldn't look at Mark Rutte. Mark Rutte just has an impossible job.
We're in a circus.
I'd go beyond it and say that it's also the responsibility of all of the other members in NATO, because they're not stepping in and saying, okay, Mark Rutte's job is impossible. We need to move on. And the US may or may not come back into the fold. Of course, we hope and really wish it does. But for the moment, we have to move forward realistically. So, yes, Mark Rutte's doing what he should do. And maybe there's some culpability there that he should put his hand up and go, actually, this isn't working and it's not going to work. And I'm going to stop taking a paycheck and I'm going to walk away. That is the role of someone who is a real leader. The real problem is other European leaders, because they should say, this isn't working. Let's give him a new mandate. Let's change course. Let's face reality. They're kicking the can down the road.
While I kind of agree with you, the reality of the situation is if you did that, then Trump would just use that as an excuse to slap more terrorists. Like, the reason why European and British in here, your leaders are so spineless is because everyone's been afraid of Europe, of the United States walking away from Ukraine and the United States punishing European nations economically, right? And so everyone's been walking on eggshells. Like, we don't want to do these things. We know that should be done. But if you do that, then the US goes, wow, I'm going to throw all the toys out the pram and I'm going to help Russia instead. I'm going to release sanctions on Russia.
I think we're beyond the idea.
So today is big.
Today is huge. I mean, this is
because
pivotal.
I think we do get to this point, Jonathan, where you might start seeing European leaders go, and now's the time to walk away.
I think it is. Ooh, there's a cat there. Yes. I think as well, we're beyond the point where certainly Ukraine, but possibly other leaders are thinking we need US on side to keep helping. The fact is they're not helping anymore. And it seems that even the intelligence information is not what it was. The air defense is not being provided. And there's pretty much zero revenue being provided this year in terms of aid. Love that picture. I think what they're doing is what you said at the end there, which is they are playing this game at the moment to prevent Trump from fully flipping, lifting sanctions on Russia and lifting the embargo on certain munitions and components. Because if he gets upset enough, he might just say, do you know what? I'm going to walk away from everything. And actually, I'm going to help Vladimir Putin restock his war chest. I think that's what the game is about at the moment.
Yeah. Yeah. And
well, the bottom line is, and I've the bottom line is this has Putin and Xi sitting back, sipping tea and loving 100%. Every bit of it.
Yeah.
Oh, popcorn is popping in the Kremlin right now.
Popcorn is popping in the Kremlin.
I'm just going to really quickly go through some super chats because otherwise I
please do.
We owe you to this before Fink came in. We owe you to a lot for keeping us informed. There is, I was sure Jonathan would be included.
He probably would have. The comment wouldn't have changed if I'd been in the room.
Of course, Jonathan. There is just too much going on. Your hard work is keeping an ember of freedom glowing. I feel
thank you
like guilty for doing so many videos and live streams, but I was saying to my partner tonight, I was like, Helen, can people stop doing crazy shit in the world? It's just, there's too much going on. It is too much. But
you know what's funny? Let me say something on that, because we've discussed a lot of heavy stuff on this Saturday evening, and thank you all for being here, and thanks again to the mods, and thanks to all those that have super chatted or gifted memberships or liked everything. Thank you. We do our very best. But every morning I wake up, and I am not joking at all. One of the first things that I do is check how many videos Johnny has made before I have my first cup of coffee. That is the truth. That's the gospel truth right there.
Oh dear. Oh my goodness. No tariffs on the US says truth is not just social. Only sanctions on Trump business and tech companies make it clear it's about a few people, not the US. Have a bear on me. That is a great point, by the way. And I do appreciate that. And I think I agree with that. Here, as an Indian in the US, as an Indian, the US had one friend in BRICS and they've lost it. Zeb Carter, thank you very much for HEP Geopolitics memberships, and Kevin Force. I've thanked many people, but also haven't thanked loads that I went through very quickly earlier on. So thank you.
That's a cool name. Before Ukraine. Nice.
Yeah.
Nathan Pohl, go back to, hey, buddy. Thank you for that, Greg. You're a great journalist. Thank you for all of your amazing content. You're very welcome, and thank you for your kind comments. And you guys don't realize, I'll just give a little sidebar here, but when you like or share, or you even, we get enough hate mail, honestly, to float a battleship. So when you make nice and kind comments, only when maybe they're deserved, or thank us for the work that we do, it's really encouraging. So thank you. And I know I'm speaking for both Jonathans on that as well.
Michael Fuchard, touch Greenland and lose Alaska. The BC, the British Columbia blockade, will be enacted, and as proven in the 1990 Salmon Wars, that is the weak point. You need to take BC before you can touch Greenland. I wonder what Carney's role is going to be in the next couple of weeks, and whether Canada, they're kind of caught in the middle here. Whilst on the one hand being strong in their rhetoric towards approaching China, are they going to stand up for Greenland against the United States? So it's going to be interesting to watch, Carney.
JP, play that video. This is a perfect time, and then it's just quick. So I found this video. It's a 1945 map. It looks German to me, but take the music off. Take the music off. All right, so take the music off and play it again. And this is a 1945 map, and it shows the reality of the North Pole and Greenland, where there was one base. So they saying it's a 50s German school map showing the real look. So anyway, I'm just throwing it in there because we were just talking about Canada. And you talk about the proximity of Canada
that from above.
Now look at that from above.
That's a really cool perspective.
Yes, and I'm sorry to blow everybody's ears out.
Someone's pointed out, going on about Greenland being pivotal to security. That's actually not true. What's pivotal to security is the area north of the United Kingdom, because that is the main channel where Russian nuclear submarines, etc., go through.
Yes.
So Greenland really is a distraction on every single level. Yes, it's important. Yes, it is important for this new defensive shield. But of course, Trump can have all of that. The US can have all of that. It's part of existing arrangements. No, that's a relationship with the UK and NATO that actually secures that region. And it's those deep waters above the UK that are critical. So what Trump is doing here is dramatically, potentially weakening US security, not strengthening it. So we have to look away from the sort of the weapon of mass distraction, as the former head of NATO has called it. And this is what's kind of going on. He's destroying the alliance. He's weakening Europe. He's softening it up. He's going to be maybe deterring Europe from sending munitions to Ukraine. We're going to be freaking out while Vladimir Putin, one, carries on carving up Ukraine. Two, I fully suspect that with all of this conflict going on, Putin will feel much more confident about launching large-scale hybrid attacks on Europe this year, including on our energy and transport infrastructure, in the knowledge, in the reassurance now that the US will not step in, will not flip to defend Europe. This is where I think it's going. He wants to make sure the US does not make an about turn and become Europe's ally again. He wants to break that relationship fundamentally so he can start softening Europe up politically, economically, and turn it into the basket case so he can tear it apart and dominate it and control it.
I've got a comment from Prof. Gerdes here, and thank you very much for all these super chats. I'm not reading them all out, but yeah, interesting. I presume an American view here to kick the US completely out of EU and tell him, yeah, we're sick of Trump's stupidity. Yep. But this is from Prof. Gerdes, and I kind of disagree with this. I agree with it in some ways, but disagree with it in others. I hate to ruin a thesis here, but Trump is a symptom, not the cause. Yes, to some degree, but he says populism that's running throughout not just the United States but Europe is the real problem. Trump is just a manifestation. Yes and no. So there is this issue of like, well, it's not Trump that caused this, like what voted in Trump, and there's this move towards populism. What is the root cause for Trump getting so popular? Yes, there is that. However, populism is not interested in imperialism in terms of taking on Greenland. So I think that can be explained so far, but actually what's going on here is Trumpism, and it's a form of Trumpism in terms of his ego, in terms of his legacy and wanting to be imperialist and wanting to be an emperor, and also the people around Trump. So it's Stephen Miller and it's the oligarchs around him that propelled him to that position, because they funded him into the position where they can now manipulate him. So I think it's all wrapped up, but I don't think this is just about populism. I think populism has been like a component of this, but actually I'd have to disagree with Darren to a degree there and say there is an element of the actual people involved in ruling at the moment in the United States, and that includes the oligarchs and includes the Heritage Foundation, and there is an agenda there. There's an ideological agenda, and you can talk about Elon Musk and his grandfather with the Technate of America, which includes Greenland, it includes Venezuela, it includes Mexico, and it includes Canada. There is an ideology here that goes back beyond just pure populism, and I'm sorry, I agree but also disagree.
I'd also point out here that there's definitely a move towards populism. There's definitely a move towards fragility of democracy, and the center is not holding, and there's multiple things going on. But we also have to remember that Russia is an arsonist, and it's played that role through the Soviet Union. It's played that role less in the 90s because as a state it was incredibly weak, but under Putin it has returned to being a global arsonist. So yes, there are all these trends going on, but Russia has undoubtedly injected huge amounts of funds into helping to bankroll or encourage extreme organizations on both the left and the right, because what it wants is division. And we are seeing some of the outline of that in things like Tenet Media. We're seeing some of the outlines of that in places like Nathan Gill, one of Farage's key lieutenants. We're seeing that in Tommy Robinson and others who parrot Kremlin narratives. Now, we don't always have the receipts, but where people are systematically parroting Kremlin narratives rather than, I would say, pure native and organic populism, one can say that actually an accelerant has been used. So it's not true to say that this is just a trend and we should just kind of understand it. It has had fuel poured on the fire.
And we
Agree.
should understand populism. Like, I've read books on
Agree.
populism, and I like, if we don't understand populism, we don't understand how to fight what I would say is a dangerous political movement in terms of, say,
Yes.
in the UK, Reform UK,
I'm-
AFD in Germany, etc., etc. So
Russia
yes,
didn't invent it, but
I'm going to give you guys a word picture here, and I learned this from walking with my father through cancer. And he is now cancer-free, 3-time cancer survivor of prostate and lymphoma. And
all cool people in the world have prostate cancer.
He had a very, very bad form of cancer, and he's one of those that have beat it. Okay. So when we met with his cancer doctor, and he was in Oklahoma City at the time, my brother was in California, I was out east, and we got on planes, we flew to Oklahoma. We sat down with one of the best cancer doctors in Oklahoma City there. And the doctor looked at us and says, okay, to the two boys, my brother and I, he goes, I do not want you to look at the internet or Google on this. And I'm getting somewhere on the Trump story here, because this is what I really think, to answer Prof and you two guys. And he started talking to us, and he goes, listen, we're going to beat this cancer, and we're going to beat it through a team effort of my medical expertise and treatment, you know, and for us that believe in God, your faith in God, positive thoughts, good diet, just everything. Okay, we're going to put it all together and we're going to beat it. He goes, but let me explain something to you about cancer. He says, everybody has the potential for cancer. The cells are all there. They're floating around. That populism or that environment is there, but it takes one cell to mutate. That DNA mutates, and it's like a nuclear bomb going off in your body, and then that begins to replicate, and the cancer comes, and then the tumor comes, and then it develops, and then it grows and grows and grows until ultimate death comes. So yeah, is there an underlying movement and thought and culture and process in the United States and around the world? Absolutely. But I'm telling you right now, my opinion, Donald Trump and his leadership style as the president of the United States and the leader of the free world is the mutated cell that has pushed us into this place that we're now in. That's my viewpoint.
I was wondering where that was going, Greg. And do you know what? Good job, mate.
Thank you. Listen, he's the cell that explodes. He's the president of the U.S. He is the leader of the free world. He makes one statement and the world shudders.
Like, there are populist leaders around the world.
It's reality. He's the mutated
in a way that says it. Like, there are other populist leaders that are not Trump, and those countries don't do, like, the United States under Trump has taken populism. Populism may have helped get him there, but he is directing the US in a very unique way that is very Trumpian. And I think that you put that together with the ability to be manipulated, or the susceptibility to be manipulated, and with the Heritage Foundation, with Stephen Miller and Russ Vought and JD Vance and Peter Thiel and David Sachs and Elon Musk and all of these people around him, and you have this very big you have this taking populism and thrusting it into a very different place, and yeah, so I think it's both. And
I think your analogy is fantastic. But the one that a lot of people use is the bad apple analogy. But of course, that doesn't really work. What they're implying is that we've got a barrel of lovely apples and there's just one bad one. But if you go back to what that analogy means, is that one bad apple can actually infect the rest. It can turn the whole barrel rotten. That is the original idea behind it. And I think a lot of people miss that. And this is unfortunate, because in any society, and we have this unfortunate, I think, in part of the Brexit language, which is sort of anti-foreigner. That's not to say that everyone who voted for Brexit did so for those reasons. But everyone who's a racist voted for Brexit. I mean, that's the example I heard there. Yeah. But it gives people permission. Like, I had these thoughts and I hadn't really expressed them because I knew that I wouldn't be able to get away with it. But once you start feeling you have impunity, that's not that everyone's going to come out of the woodwork. And the majority of people, I think, are still good or have good intentions wherever they are. But it does give license to those who are like, well, why not? if everyone's being evil, and I rather like being evil, and maybe people don't think of themselves as being evil, but they certainly have the license to express certain things which previously they kept under wraps.
And I think, and I'll just say this, you know, the chat's going by so fast. Once again, thank you to everybody. But I did see somebody's comment go by, and I don't know who wrote it. Was don't forget the revenge factor. And we've even heard references to that. So for us to sit here and try to just analyze this up into one pretty package and one pretty paragraph, I really don't think it's possible. I think this is so complex that there's so many narratives happening at the same time that what we really have is just, we're at January 17th, 2026. You guys are already at the 18th, and we have a perfect storm. And it's not a good storm. It's not a good storm.
And it rhymes with history. I mean, I've said this on the channel before, so excuse, you know, the tedium of hearing this again. My on one side of my family, my grandparents escaped British imperialism in Ireland. On the other side, they escaped Nazi tyranny and fled Austria in the late 30s. And I'm afraid to say the stories that they told me, or at least my grandmother did, because my grandfather didn't really talk about any of it. He's far too traumatized by it. The stories she told, the anecdotal stories of what it feels like to be in a society which is turning in on itself, and where violent mobs are forcing the majority of people to keep silent about things they know are evil, and some are embracing that out of self-interest. I'm afraid to say the patterns and the rhymes of history are all around us, and they're getting louder and louder.
Yeah. So you're referring.
So thank you guys. I know it's late your time. So
yeah, I've got to shoot off now. But you were talking about like a subset. I don't know what the correct logical labeling for this is, but it's a kind of subset fallacy where all A is B, but not all B are A. All dogs are animals, but not all animals are dogs, which is to say that, all racists voted for Brexit, but not all Brexit voters are racist. So it's a subset fallacy. Yeah.
It's a meme kind of thing which goes around, but there's a little kernel of perhaps truth in there.
Please don't forget that my wife painted this.
No way. Oh wow. Is that special effects on cat? Or similar?
Yes, sir.
That's amazing. She's good. That's brilliant. Love it. Different colored eyes as well.
Yes, she is.
Yeah. Can I just, as the last super chat,
please get them all, because I hate missing super chats and thank yous, and because if not, it'd just be us three talking together, and that'd be quite boring. So thank you, everybody.
Stephen Leach here saying, and he's one of yours. Stephen Leach saying, "Thank you, gentlemen. This is my first live, but I watch everything all three of you put out. Florida veteran here. Thank you. That's really kind of you for
sir.
to hang out and
thank you, Paul Paul Deberitz. I saw that comment. Thank you.
So just two more super chats. Sorry to all those I didn't read out, but I did flash them on the screen. Rick from the Netherlands, US two-party system makes populism dangerous. In the Netherlands, even when the PVV was the biggest party, could not get the upper hand. But now how the PVV got the biggest party is important to look at. Yeah, that's a really good point. So if you actually had a three-party system or multi-party system, then you can deal with populism. But if populism takes over one party, then the two-party system in the US is the narrowest form of democracy. It is a poor democracy in the US. It's a first past the post electoral college system, a two-party system. It needs reform, desperately needs reform, the American political system. Just really quickly,
thank you, BB.
Yep, absolutely.
All the gifting the memberships. Thank you, Blonde Bomb Scheller. Thank you to all the mods, man. We've all got great mods. Thank you.
Thank you to Andrew Eisen there. Trump may have started out as a populist, but he's heading to authoritarian. Yep, absolutely, and they're not mutually exclusive. Putin puppet every day. The clan Rutter wins. EU, NATO rearms. Reorganize. Thank you, Putin puppet. Sorry to rush through these. And what Fink just said is something I want to share with many. That's the first time I've ever heard that kind of sentiment, but I appreciate that, JJ. Like it is not often I hear that kind of agreement and advocacy for Jonathan Fink. So thank you. I'm sure he'll feel his cockles are warmed.
My head will swell to ridiculous proportions.
Indeed.
Well, all I know is that if I'm trying to learn your guys' lingo over there, both of you are the dog's bollocks. That's all I know to say.
So
the DBs for sure.
I love.
Oh,
So
DBs. Thank you.
I occasionally watch these like Americans in Britain and experiencing UK culture and blah blah blah. I watch them on YouTube, and there's one I watched today. He like went to a curry house and was like, "This is the best food I've ever eaten. This has changed my life." And this is an American guy, and he's like, "And you've got to go to this curry house in Long Crennenden or something. So this village in the UK. It's like this is the best curry house in the world. My life has been changed." At the end of the video, and I thought of you, Greg. At the end of the video, he said, and he's obviously like hung out with Brits and getting the lingo, and he's like, "This restaurant is a dog's bollocks." And I was like, Greg, you're here with me, Greg. I'm watching YouTube.
I'm learning a little bit at a time from you fellas. I really appreciate you guys. You know, we don't see everything the same, but we don't, and that's okay. But this is how it's supposed to be, not throwing threats and rhetoric. We're supposed to come together, discuss it, and try to find common ground. So I do appreciate you fellas very much, and everybody. Thank you.
I don't want to overwhelm you with lingo as well, but there's an alternative version of that, which is the mutts nuts.
Yeah,
the mutts nuts. So
yeah,
okay.
If you want to be a bit more polite, a bit, yeah, maybe.
So
is it more polite or is it less? I kind of think.
I don't know. Bollocks is a quasi swear word, but it's not.
Well,
it's
then this is very simple. Then, okay, definitely Fink is the dog's bollocks, and Pearce, you're definitely the mutts nuts.
Yeah, I like to think I am.
There we go. I've got it now.
Well, thank you.
You got it. You got the link.
No more Brits can join the stream. I'm out of slang.
Yeah, that's it. And just a point to many Americans make this mistake. I think someone's just said it. So Blonde Bombsheller, right, says, so this is a classic American mistake. It's not bullocks, which is a male cow, isn't it? A bullock. It's bollock, so it's BOLLOCK. It's a very common American misunderstanding of the word.
She will never make that mistake again.
So thank you for this is the correct spelling from Who's Poppin'. That is the words. Indeed. Sweet as a nut. Right. Look, guys.
Thank you, guys.
It's autocorrect. Says Blonde Bombsheller. Yes, this is it. Thank you to all of the mods, Blonde Bombsheller being one of the great ones. Thank you to all the people in the live chat. Thank you to all of the tremendous support for the channels. Thanks for Prof. Gerdes for hanging out.
Yes, thank you, Prof, for chatting with us.
And I did send him a link, but he didn't look at his WhatsApp, so I take that as in just not wanting to join in the conversation.
He was out somewhere.
It's no
doing
excuse.
Something. I know it's no excuse, but
he should be. If he's in a restaurant, he needs to take himself to the toilet, sit down, put his phone on, and join us from the cubicle. Like there's no excuse. So next time, Greg. Next time, Darren.
Wait. Then that would be called the Lou Review.
Very good.
Thank you.
You are a poet.
I'm working on.
You didn't even know it.
No, the Lou Review.
Jonathan says, Jeff Test Pilot, as I already said, I would be proud to serve in the trenches with all of you guys. That's really very kind of you. Chance of me serving in the trenches unless I'm put on an unmanned ground vehicle in some kind of automated movement system.
Bull crap, JP. I've had you in Kherson falling down steps, caught you, and made sure you got up the steps. No, sir. You are legit. Jonathan Fink is legit. You put your money where your mouth is, and you take your butts to Ukraine. I salute both of you guys.
Hoping to go out in the Easter time, mate. But I've got a walker now, so I've got this 4-wheeled walker that I walk around because, for those who don't know, I've got multiple sclerosis. I may look pretty good from the upper body like this. I'm very mobile. Look at me. I can move my upper body, my arms. They're amazing. You get me walking. I'm drunk, right? I'm like a drunk man, and I can't run. I haven't run in about 7 years.
Telling the truth. We were in the snow over Izum, and I'm walking out to show him Izum in the Donetsk, Kharkiv region, Kharkiv region, Izum, and we come out, and next thing I know, man, he's like falling on me. I said, "What are you doing?" He's dancing in the snow. But you there, man, both of you guys. So,
but next time I go, I'm going to have to take my new walker with me, which is great because I roll it along. I went to watch my boys' football today, and I rolled it along, walked across the fields. I was like, "Yeah, look at me walk! I'm really quick. I'm amazing." So I've got these wheels that I can lean on, and then I can turn it around. I can sit on it, and then so I'm made up. So my life is now better.
Awesome.
Anyway,
super cool.
Guys, it's been a pleasure. The pleasure is all yours.
Thank you.
I mean, I've enjoyed it too. last sort of words for the audience in these crazy times?
It's going to get a lot worse before it gets better. I think that's one takeaway.
I would say I concur with that statement, and I just like to always end by saying thank you to you two guys, thank you to all people watching on all 3 channels. Thank you for supporting, of course.
Great.
So many of you here supporting Ukraine, but just supporting the hunt for truth and what is right, and realizing nobody knows all the answers, but together we can come together and find them and encourage each other in this world, no matter what corner of it you are from. So for that, we say thank you, and don't quit fighting and standing for what's right. If you are an American, write to your congressmen, to your senators, flood them, do anything you can do. But thank you so much.
Basically what he said. So on that, I'll finish. But thank you to all of you. You're amazing. Take care, and I will be in touch with you with my videos tomorrow. I'm sure Greg will and Jonathan will be as well, because that's how we roll.
Yes.
Take care, everybody. You two stay in the green room. Slava Ukraini, and may
Slava.
May the United States find its way again through to an enlightened sense of togetherness with allies rather than division and divergence. So that's all I have to say.
Amen.
Amen, brother.
There we go, JP. I was waiting for it. We're going to sing "Oh Happy Day" in a minute.
No, we're not. Take care, you all. Big love.
Good night.